Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Preeti Kaur. Coming up in the next 1 hour, Syrian government announces a new ceasefire after deadly clashes in the Druze city of Sweda. Israel holds situational assessment at Syrian border. US says fighting would stop soon. UN Security Council will meet today. Mark Zuckerberg faces $8 billion trial over user data misuse allegations. Plaintiffs claim Meta allegedly, in fact, illegally harvested data of Facebook users in violation of a 2012 agreement with US Federal Trade Commission. German Chancellor Friedrich Merz will meet British Prime Minister Keir Starmer in London today. Will sign a wide-ranging friendship treaty as part of a broader push to reset the EU-UK ties. And in cricket, Indian women's team wins first ODI against England in Southampton. All-rounder Deepti Sharma's unbeaten knock leads to 4-wicket victory. Syria has announced that its army had begun to withdraw from violence-hit Sweda after a US call for government forces to leave the majority Druze southern city. Syria's interim president Ahmed al-Shara has now said that protecting the Druze citizens and their rights is their priority. In his first televised statement after the powerful Israeli airstrikes on Damascus on Wednesday, Shara addressed Druze citizens, saying they reject any attempt to drag Druze into hands of any external party. He added that the Syrian people are not afraid of war and are ready to fight if their dignity is threatened. Earlier, the United States called on Syria's government forces to leave a flashpoint southern area to ease tensions with Israel.
We are calling on the Syrian government to, in fact, withdraw their military in order to enable all sides to de-escalate and find a path forward. And I think that that's obviously the goal because of the nature of what's happened and the Secretary's phrasing that this was a misunderstanding. He's optimistic that this can be achieved.
It was the result of the Israeli airstrikes in Damascus on Wednesday that blew up part of Syria's defense ministry and hit near the presidential palace. The attacks marked a significant Israeli escalation against the Islamist-led administration of interim President Ahmed al-Shara. Following calls in Israel to help Druze in Syria, scores of Israeli Druze broke through the border fence on Wednesday, linking up with Druze on the Syrian side. Describing Syria's new rulers as barely disguised jihadists, Israel has said that it won't let them move forces into southern Syria and vowed to shield the area's Druze community from the attack, encouraged by calls from Israel's own Druze minority. Meanwhile, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said that Israeli military was working to save the Druze and urged Israeli Druze citizens not to cross the border. While Israeli Army Chief of Staff Eyal Zamir visited the Syrian border to hold a situational assessment with the army officials, scores of people have been killed this week in violence and around the predominantly Druze city of Sweda, pitting fighters from the Druze minority against government security forces and members of the Bedouin tribes. The United Nations Security Council will meet on Thursday to address the conflict. United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres condemned Israel's airstrikes on Syria on Wednesday and called for an immediate cessation of all violations of Syria's sovereignty and territorial integrity. While Israel's ambassador to the UN, Danny Danon, said that Israel would continue to act resolutely against any terrorist threat on its borders. On the Syria situation, Turkey has condemned Israel's strikes against other regional countries, including Lebanon, Iran and Syria. Turkey's Foreign Minister Hakan Fidan said that he was in close contact with Tom Barak, U.S. Special Envoy for Syria and the U.S. Ambassador to Turkey. It also said that Ankara was also in close contact with regional powers and the U.S. It has halted all trade and recalled its ambassador in Tel Aviv for consultations too. Fidan added that he expects a ceasefire in the area in coming hours as a result of diplomatic efforts. U.S. President Donald Trump will be having a meeting on Thursday regarding the U.S. citizen beaten to death by settlers in the West Bank. Trump administration has strongly condemned the killing of Saif Musallet, a Palestinian-American citizen who was beaten to death by Israeli settlers in the occupied West Bank on Friday. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio said that their ambassador to Israel has asked Tel Aviv to aggressively investigate the murder of the American citizen.
Yesterday, Ambassador Huckabee has asked the Israelis to conduct an investigation. We want to get all the information about who was involved. We protect all American citizens anywhere in the world, especially if they're unjustly murdered or killed.
An emergency conference organized by the Hague Group drew to a close in Bogota on Friday, with several of the participating countries proposing measures to end Israeli attacks on Gaza. After the two-day event, representatives signed a joint statement condemning Israel's actions in Palestinian territories and pledged to implement legal and diplomatic measures to stop them. The document establishes 6 concrete measures, including the denial of arms to Israel, a ban on ships transporting such arms, and a review of public contracts for possible links to companies that benefit from commerce with Israel. But only 12 out of over 30 member countries attended the Bogota summit, which aims to coordinate legal and diplomatic responses to Israel's alleged violations of international law. The restored Mosul International Airport in Iraq has officially been reopened on Wednesday. Iraqi Prime Minister Mohammad Shia al-Sudani inaugurated Mosul's newly restored airport years after it was destroyed in the battle to dislodge the Islamic State group. With this reopening, Mosul International Airport becomes Iraq's 7th air hub, following Baghdad, Basra, Najaf, Kirkuk, Suleimania and Erbil. Mosul Airport was originally built in the 1920s by the British as a military airfield. During the 2003 U.S. attack, American forces used the facility as a military base. The Islamic State group ISIS seized Mosul in 2014 and declared caliphate. In August 2022, the then Prime Minister Mustafa al-Kadhimi laid the foundation stone for the airport's reconstruction. Mosul Airport is expected to become fully operational for domestic and international flights in 2 months. Bahrain's Crown Prince announced his plans to invest more than $17 billion in the United States at a meeting with President Donald Trump in Washington, D.C. Under the plan, Bahrain was expected to sign a deal valued at about $7 billion for its national carrier Gulf Air to buy 12 Boeing BAN aircraft with an option for 6 more and 40 General Electric engines. The announcement from Prince Salman came during an Oval Office visit on the heels of foreign investments deals Trump made during a trip to the Middle East in May. Sunni-ruled Bahrain is an important security partner of the United States, hosting the U.S. Navy's 5th fleet. Bahrain exports face a 10% baseline tariff under Trump's trade policies, but have been spared larger levies imposed on other countries' exports. The U.S. official said that the new Bahrain deal will support 30,000 American jobs and was secured with help from Trump and Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick. Later this year, the King of Bahrain will visit Washington to finalize these agreements and solidify the progress made in building the two nations' economic prosperity. Both the leaders also spoke on talks with Iran. Donald Trump said that Iran wants to negotiate with the U.S., but he is in no rush to talk, while Bahrain's Crown Prince said that the ball is in Iran's court.
And they do. They want to negotiate. They want to negotiate badly. We're in no rush because, we said we could have made a deal. They should have made a deal. And then we bombed the hell out of their various places. We're in no rush, but if they want to negotiate, we're here.
Want to negotiate? I believe the ball's in their court. That is the true reality of where we stand today. They are the ones that stand to benefit from a negotiation.
German Chancellor Friedrich Merz will travel to London on Thursday in his final visit there since taking office in May. The visit is intended to deepen the close ties between the two countries. During the visit, the German Chancellor and the UK Prime Minister are expected to sign a friendship treaty covering foreign and security cooperation. The upcoming treaty will also include measures aimed at boosting economic growth and encouraging stronger people-to-people contacts between the two nations. Last October, the UK and Germany agreed to a milestone defence pact, and they have since announced several joint initiatives such as developing strike missiles. Merz's trip will follow the state visit to Britain by French President Emmanuel Macron, the first by an EU head of state since the UK left the bloc. US workers are building a new 11-kilometer taller secondary barrier to reinforce the steel mesh fence in the desert of southern New Mexico along the border with Mexico. Construction will witness new border wall of approximately 58 kilometers in Arizona and New Mexico. The U.S. Customs and Border Protection says these projects are expected to close critical gaps in the border wall and enhance border security operations. Constructing steel mesh fence has already led to a reduction of migrants coming to the U.S., with Border Patrol arresting more than 39,000 migrants in the El Paso sector in the fiscal year to April, down by 78% from the year earlier period. Earlier, Trump eased immigration crackdown, ordering around 2,000 National Guard troops to leave Los Angeles following a spate of protests last month. The order has drawn criticism from already angry California Governor Gavin Newsom, who has called the deployment a waste of money.
The President of the United States decided to advance his cruelty by utilizing the brave men and women of the National Guard as pawns in an effort to theatrically show his strength. He federalized the National Guard. He deployed roughly 5,000 military, not overseas. In fact, his entire first term, the President of the United States did not even send the military boots on the ground overseas. His entire first term. First 6 months of his administration, he decides to send them to the United States of America, 5,000 military. 4,000 federalized with the National Guard, close to 1,000 U.S. Marines. He sent them to a United States city. The utilization rate of our National Guard, less than 5%. You spent hundreds of millions of dollars, wasted hundreds of millions of dollars on this.
Even after the withdrawal of the 2,000 military personnel from Los Angeles, 2,000 National Guard troops would remain in the city along with some 700 Marines. U.S. President Donald Trump blasted his own supporters and Republicans as he went on the attack against anyone questioning his administration's handling of the case of dead sex criminal Jeffrey Epstein. Trump took his most combative tone yet to try and shut down the issue after days of struggling to brush off a conspiracy theory that his base has long embraced, but which he now claims is a Democratic hoax.
He's dead, he's gone. And all it is the Republicans, certain Republicans got duped by the Democrats, and they're following a Democrat playbook. And no different than Russia, and all the other hoaxes. They're started by the Democrats, and some Republicans, in this case I was surprised, but they got duped.
Trump is facing the most serious split in his base since he returned to power over claims that his administration is covering up lurid details of disgraced financier Epstein's crimes to protect rich and powerful figures. Epstein died by suicide in a New York prison in 2019 during Trump's first term after being charged with sex trafficking in a scheme where he allegedly groomed young and underage women for sexual abuse by the rich and powerful. Beverage giant Coca-Cola has agreed to use real cane sugar in its U.S. production, President Donald Trump announced on social media. The company currently uses high fructose corn syrup in its domestic beverages, a sweetener that has long drawn criticism from Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and his Make America Healthy Again movement. The U.S. president did not explain what motivated his push for the change, which would not impact his well-known favorite beverage, Diet Coke. Since his return to the White House, Trump has reinstalled a special button in the Oval Office which summons a helping of the sugar-free carbonated drink Coca-Cola, did not immediately confirm the ingredient shift. US President Donald Trump on Wednesday claimed that China may soon begin handing out the death penalty for fentanyl manufacturing and distribution. Speaking at a White House event, Trump said that he had imposed a 20% tariff on Chinese imports as a penalty for the country's role in supplying the drug. Trump made the comments as he signed the Halt Fentanyl Act into law, pledging to liberate America from what he called a deadly drug scourge. The event was attended by families who lost loved ones to fentanyl overdoses.
Position today, we strike a righteous blow to the drug dealers, narcotic traffickers, and criminal cartels that we've all been hearing so much about for so many years, and very little has been done. And we take a historic step toward justice for every family touched by the fentanyl scourge as we sign the Halt Fentanyl Act into law.
The bill will replace all fentanyl-related substances, specifically copycat versions of the drug, on the U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration's list of most dangerous drugs, classifying them as Schedule 1 under the Controlled Substances Act. The Trump administration argues the move will limit the incentive for cartels to create new synthetic fentanyl-like drugs to evade the reach of the Controlled Substances Act. You're watching DD India News Hour. We're heading for a short break, but after the break, in Bangladesh, at least 4 killed in Gopalganj district, the home district of Sheikh Hasina. 75th anniversary of American comic strip Peanuts was celebrated with a set of 8 new stamps.
Jharkhand will mesmerize you with majestic nature, rich heritage and colorful culture.
Johar. Johar. It fits perfectly.
Thank you.
Full workout हो गया.
Ready?
Postcards from Jharkhand on National Geographic.
Welcome back after the break. You're watching DD India News Hour. In Bangladesh, at least 4 people were killed in attacks and clashes over a rally organized by the National Citizen Party in Gopalganj district, the home district of Sheikh Hasina. Some 20 to 25 people were injured in the clashes that erupted amid political tension in the area following attacks on a rally organized by the NCP to mark the first anniversary of the July uprising. The government on Wednesday imposed curfew in Gopalganj district amid heightening tensions. The curfew will remain in focus till 6 p.m. on Thursday amid heavy deployment. All right, our correspondent Naval Singh Parmar is joining us on phone line to get us more. Naval, we've told our viewers about the tensions and the violent clashes in Gopalganj district. You get us the latest on the current situation.
Yes, yesterday there was a rally of NCP, National Citizen Party, which is BNP and other political party terms it as a King's Party, which is formed after the fall of Sheikh Hasina regime. And many people believe that it is having a support from the interim government. And they took out a rally in Gopalganj, which is a home district of Sheikh Hasina, and there was a clashes among the supporter of Awami League and NCP activists. And then after the police and law enforcement agency took the scene, and they charged baton and used tear gas and even bullet, and in which 4 people lost their lives. According to the media reports in Bangladesh. So it was a tense tense day for the people in Bangladesh, particularly in Gopalganj district. Now there is a kind of fear and tension in the general people. because NCP is a party which is having a support of law enforcement agency, and they may took out a blockade rally or anything can happen on the street. And already there is a lawlessness in the Bangladesh, particularly the law and order situation in Bangladesh is very poor. So there is a fear in common people in Bangladesh what may happen, and this is the month in which last year there was a the student quota reforms movement, and then it leads to the ousting of former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina. So politically, it is a very charged situation here in Bangladesh. Yes.
All right, Naval Sang, we'll leave it here. Thank you so much for joining in with those details. And in more updates from Bangladesh, the demolition of legendary filmmaker Satyajit Ray's ancestral home in Mymensingh has been halted. A committee has been formed by the authorities to look into how the house can be reconstructed. The move comes after India expressed concern over the ongoing demolition of Ray's ancestral house in Bangladesh and expressed willingness to extend cooperation in its restoration. The house in Mymensingh belonged to Upendra Kishore Roy Chaudhary, a well-known Bengali writer and Ray's grandfather. Brazil insisted that it will have enough room for tens of thousands of people expected to attend the COP30 UN climate conference in the Amazonian city of Belém in November. At least 40,000 people are expected to attend the November 10th to 21st event in Belém, known as the gateway to the Amazon rainforest, according to the government estimates from the start of the year. At a preparatory meeting in June, several countries raised concerns over eye-watering lodging prices in Belém, a northern city of 1.3 million inhabitants with limited hotel capacity. More than 50,000 people attended the last COP held in Azerbaijan in 2024, some 30,000 fewer than COP28 in Dubai. Brazil is expanding accommodation in the Amazonian city of Belém ahead of COP30 set for November 10th to 21st. Drone footage shows ongoing construction in Belém as the city prepares for 45,000 attendees. Authorities have identified over 30,000 rooms, including 3,900 cruise ship cabins docked at the port. Brazil's COP30 booking site offers 1,500 rooms for developing nations at $100 to $220, with 1,000 more coming soon at up to $600. Civil society groups previously raised concerns about affordability and access. However, Brazilian authorities aim to ensure inclusive participation at the UN Climate Summit, spotlighting Amazon preservation and addressing global environmental challenges. In a historic moment for Suriname, Jennifer Sterling Simons is sworn in as the country's first woman president for the next 5 years amid an oil boom. Simons, a former Speaker of Parliament and a medical doctor by profession, received the presidential sash from outgoing President Chan Santokhi, who led the nation since 2020. Simons took the oath of office, joined by dignitaries, diplomats and special guests, including Venezuela's Vice President and a delegation from Ghana. The new Vice President, Gregory Rusland, head of the National Party Suriname, was sworn in before Simons. He succeeds Ronnie Brunswick, who stepped down to return to Parliament. Brunswick's party is also part of the new coalition government. He left the stage to applause, marking the end of his vice presidency. Work has begun to fix Fort Boyard, the well-known sea fortress near France's west coast, which is slowly falling apart because of the strong ocean waves. The landmark became popular as a dramatic setting for a hit adventure television show. Now, Fort Boyard is set to undergo major repairs and it will be made to protect the site until 2028. Officials hope the project will help preserve French heritage and attract more visitors. The fortress is a symbol of history, culture and coastal charm. Humanoid artist Ida Robot has created a portrait of King Charles, showcasing her latest artistic work. The artwork, called Algorithm King, follows Ida's other royal portrait, Algorithm Queen, depicting Charles' mother, the late Queen Elizabeth, which was created to mark her Platinum Jubilee in 2022. It was created using Ida Robot's advanced AI algorithms, a robotic arm using oil on canvas, and the camera in her eyes, according to a press release. Algorithm King was unveiled at the UK mission to the World Trade Organization and United Nations in Geneva during the 2025 AI for Good Summit. Britain's Royal Mail is marking the 75th anniversary of the American comic strip Peanuts with a set of 8 new stamps depicting Charlie Brown, Snoopy and fellow beloved characters. The designs feature specially adapted Peanuts artworks with some British touches, including Snoopy and Woodstock as guards outside Buckingham Palace. Other designs show Snoopy lying on top of a red postbox, Lucy and Linus beside a sandcastle, as well as Charlie Brown and Snoopy enjoying tea and cake. The original strip, drawn by Charles M. Schulz, first ran on October 2, 1950 and went on to charm millions of people around the world. It continued until February 13, 2000, the day after Schulz's death. The stamps will go on sale from July 24th. They are available for pre-order from today. 8 healthy babies have been born in the UK using a new IVF technique that successfully reduced their risk of inheriting genetic diseases from their mothers. Children born through the 3% technique inherit most of their DNA, their genetic blueprint, from their parents, but also get a tiny amount, about 0.1%, from the second woman. This is a change that is passed down the generations. The findings were hailed as a breakthrough, which raises hopes that women with mutations in their mitochondrial DNA could one day have children without passing debilitating or deadly diseases onto the children. 1 out of every 5,000 births is affected by mitochondrial diseases, which cannot be treated and include symptoms such as impaired vision, diabetes and muscle wasting. All 8 children are currently healthy. Their health will be followed up over the coming years to see if any problem arises. A rare juvenile Ceratosaurus fossil has shattered records, selling for $30.5 million at Sotheby's in New York. The fossil, one of only 4 known Ceratosaurus specimens globally, exceeded its estimated value of $4 to $6 million, making it the 3rd most expensive dinosaur ever auctioned. The buyer, who remains anonymous, plans to loan the fossil to an institution, citing its scientific and cultural significance. This sale highlights the growing market for dinosaur fossils, with Sotheby's Greek Week auction series featuring rare items from space, science and natural history. Cassandra Hatton, Sotheby's vice chairman, noted the fossil's exceptional research value due to its virtually complete skull and rarity as a juvenile specimen.
It's incredibly rare to find a complete skull. All of the little fine bones are present, and it was found disarticulated, which is really important. Some skulls you'll find are found fossilized in one block, but all of the pieces were disarticulated, and that means that you can actually take them off the mount and study each one individually. So scientifically, it's really important to have a skull like that because you can study it.
And now we take a look at other stories making it to the headlines from across the world. A 54-pound Martian meteoroid sold for $5.3 million at Sotheby's on Wednesday set a new record as the most expensive meteoroid ever auctioned. Known as NWA 16788, the specimen is the largest known piece of Mars on Earth, roughly 70% larger than any other Martian meteoroid. The fragment was discovered in November 2023 by a meteoroid hunter in Niger's remote Agadez region. Prince Harry returns to Angola to support a British landmine clearing charity, the Halo Trust, repeating a famous trip made by his mother, the late Princess Diana, in 1997. During his visit, the Duke of Sussex also helped deliver fire-saving messages to children in a remote village near Sueto, Sunaval. According to the charity, at least 60,000 people have been killed or injured by landmines in the country since 2008. And despite clearing over 120,000 landmines and 100,000 bombs, at least 80 Angolans have been killed by the devices in the last 5 years. The annual Hong Kong Book Fair kicked off on Wednesday at the Convention and Exhibition Centre in Wan Chai, drawing crowds of eager book lovers. Some exhibitors hope their sales through the 7-day event can increase by around 10%. In line with the book fair's theme of the year, Food Culture, Future Living, one featured highlight is this publisher's collection of over 180 titles by renowned food critic and writer Chua Lam, who passed away last month. You're watching DD India News. We're heading for a short break. But after the break, aiming to strengthen textile diplomacy, India's Textiles Minister Giriraj Singh concludes his official visit to Japan. Stay with us for the highlights of the visit. DRDO develops Akash Prime air defense system to thwart multifarious air threats. Indian Army carries out successful trials at over 15,000 feet in Ladakh. We will give you all the weather-related updates from around the country. Welcome back. After the break, you're watching DD India News Hour. India's Textiles Minister Giriraj Singh has wrapped up his official visit to Japan with a heartfelt interaction with the Indian community in Tokyo. The minister's outreach not only celebrated India's vibrant diaspora, but also underscored the country's growing textile diplomacy. Ending his high-level engagements on a warm note, the minister met with members of the Indian community in Tokyo, calling from ambassadors of India. He urged them to remain rooted in Indian culture and values, even as they continue to contribute to Japan's progress.
जापान एक दूसरे से बड़े नज़दीक हैं, सभ्यता और संस्कृति से भी। सारे लोगों ने भारत में इन्वेस्टमेंट के लिए इच्छुक हैं और कई कंपनी वहाँ ऑफिस खोल चुके हैं और कई कंपनी और जाने वाले हैं। हमारे लिए खास करके टेक्सटाइल के सेक्टर में टेक्सटाइल मशीनरी के सेक्टर में भी लोग आए थे। उन लोगों ने भी इच्छा जाहिर की है। कई लोगों ने जॉइंट वेंचर की बात की है। तो मुझे लगता है कि ये 3 दिनों की यात्रा हमारी बड़ी सुखद यात्रा रही है और लोगों का विश्वास भारत पे बना है नरेंद्र मोदी जी के नेतृत्व में।
Ambassador of India to Japan, C.B. George, also addressed the gathering, saying that the example of India-Japan cooperation in automobile sector should be followed in the textiles too.
Many areas in which India-Japan business connect is very strong. Automobile sector. There is more Suzukis today in India than in Japan, if you count the number of vehicles. Okay, and very happy to know that now Suzuki is importing cars from India to Japan. So this is something which we want to replicate in the textile sector. And I am convinced that under his leadership, under the guidance of our Honorable Prime Minister, we would be able to achieve that target.
India hosted the 4th BIMSTEC disaster management exercise virtually. The event witnessed participation of disaster management professionals from BIMSTEC member states to assess and enhance regional preparedness for cyclones and floods and shared best practices to strengthen coordination for disaster response across the region. India has always stood by its partners in the region as the first responder in times of crisis. The exercise further strengthened cooperation in the Bay of Bengal region towards disaster preparedness, response and resilience. The Election Commission of India has said that over 69,900,000 enumeration forms have been collected in the eastern Indian state of Bihar so far under the Social Intensive Revision Initiative, which is 88.65% of the total enumeration forms. The Indian poll body said Only 6.85% of electors now remain to submit their full enumeration forms, and many of them have sought time to submit their enumeration forms with documents in the coming days. The Election Commission said 1.59% electors have been found deceased, 2.2% permanently shifted, and 4.53% electors were not found at their address. The Commission said it is ensuring that no eligible elector is left out and the remaining electors fill their enumeration forms before July 25th. In a significant development, the Indian Army on Wednesday carried out successful trials of the indigenously developed Akash Prime air defense system at an altitude of over 15,000 feet in the Ladakh sector. The trial was carried out by the Indian Army Air Defense along with senior officials of the DRDO, which has developed the system. During the trials, the surface-to-air missiles registered 2 direct hits against very fast-moving target aircraft in the very high altitude area in a rarefied atmosphere. The Akash Prime system would form the 3rd and 4th regiments of the Akash air defense systems in the Indian Army. In comparison to the existing Akash system, Akash Prime is equipped with an indigenous active radio frequency seeker for improved accuracy. Other improvements also ensure more reliable performance under low temperature environments at higher altitudes. A modified ground system of the existing Akash weapon system has also been used. President Draupadi Murmu will confer the prestigious Swachh Sarvekshan 2024-25 awards at the national capital, at a national ceremony in New Delhi today. Swachh Sarvekshan 2024-25 marks the 9th edition of the world's largest urban cleanliness survey. This landmark event will unveil the cleanest cities of the urban India, recognizing the tireless efforts of cities driving the Swachh Bharat mission urban forward. The introduction of the SSL serves a dual purpose. It inspires top-performing cities to reach even higher standards of cleanliness, while also motivating other cities to improve their performance and compete for top rankings. Awards spotlight the theme of reduce, reuse and recycle. In a significant move to strengthen security arrangements for the ongoing Amarnath Yatra, the Kulgam police of the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir have implemented advanced surveillance technologies along the Srinagar-Jammu National Highway. The Kulgam police have adopted high-tech technology, deploying state-of-the-art geofencing surveillance and facial recognition systems on the Srinagar-Jammu National Highway to further strengthen security for the Amarnath Yatra. Geofencing has been implemented across the highway stretch, falling within Kulgam's jurisdiction to track the movement of both pilgrims and vehicles in real time. Facial recognition systems have also been deployed to identify potential threats and enhance overall security during the Yatra. The Amarnath Yatra has been suspended for Thursday from both Pahalgam and Baltal base camps due to continuous heavy rains over the last 2 days. This comes a day after a woman pilgrim died and 3 sustained injuries in a landslide along the Baltal route of the Yatra in the Gandarbal district. This is the first time the Yatra has been suspended from Jammu this year. Authorities have advised pilgrims to stay at their respective base camps until the weather improves and the track is deemed safe for travel. Amidst a landslide at the Baltal axis, Central Reserve Police Force's dedicated team with other sister agencies carried out rescue operations, helping those in distress. CRPF remains always on the front lines for safety of the citizens, showcasing unwavering commitment. Let's get to our weather updates now. First up from India, as monsoon extends its influence, pouring heavy rain over states such as Uttarakhand, Rajasthan and Madhya Pradesh. Heavy rain is likely in eastern Rajasthan in the next 48 hours, while light drizzle is expected in western regions. Intense showers are being witnessed in some regions. Others, such as parts of Delhi, Uttar Pradesh and Bihar, are witnessing irregular and comparatively lighter rains. IMD predicted heavy rainfall over Odisha, Sub-Himalayan West Bengal, Sikkim till 21st of July. Moderate rainfall is predicted at most places, accompanied with thunderstorm and lightning over the region during the next 7 days. Heavy rainfall is likely over Konkan and Goa, Ghat areas of Maharashtra on 20th and 21st July. Also, moderate rainfall at some places is very likely over the region during next 5 days. Heavy rainfall is also predicted over Assam, Meghalaya, Arunachal Pradesh, Mizoram, Tripura during 19th to 21st of July. Incessant rainfall in Karnataka caused landslide at National Highway 75 in Mannagundi area of the state. Relief and restoration work is underway. Isolated heavy to very heavy rainfall is expected in south interior Karnataka. Also, strong surface winds are predicted in south peninsular India over the next 5 days. Himachal Pradesh has significantly been impacted by the ongoing monsoon season of 2025, with cumulative losses reaching an estimated over 81,000 lakhs of rupees as of July 15th, officials said on Wednesday. The total death toll during this monsoon season from June 20th to July 15th crossed over 100 districts. Rain-related incidents including landslides, flash floods, cloudbursts, grounding, lightning, electrocution and falls from trees or steep rocks have accounted for several deaths. An early summer heat wave has accelerated the melting of snow and glaciers in the French Alps, triggering water shortages at mountain shelters just as the hiking season begins. At the Cellar Refuge, caretaker Nomi Dagan says everything is drying up. To get water, she is using a pipe to reach a nearby glacier, but the rocky terrain and stronger storms make it risky. Scientists warn the Alps are warming almost twice as fast as other places, and many glaciers may disappear by 2100. Without snow cover, glaciers melt quickly. In Chamonix, France, often dubbed the mountain capital of the world, the shrinking Bossons Glacier reveals how rapidly things are changing in these fragile mountains. Torrential rain battered South Korea on Thursday, leading to the death of one person and the evacuation of over 100 others, according to the country's safety ministry. The ministry said that some parts of the South Cheongcheong region to the south of the capital Seoul had received more than 400 millimeters of rain since Wednesday. Landslide alerts were raised to the highest level for several regions, including Changcheong, as the heavy rains continued, according to the Korea Forest Service. The Yonhap news agency said 2 people trapped in a landslide in South Changcheong had been rescued. Air quality alerts are in place across Canada due to smoke from wildfires, with officials warning residents to limit their time outdoors. Eyewitness footage showed smoke and flames burning forested and mountainous areas in Newfoundland and Labrador, an eastern Canadian province on the Atlantic coast. Canadian officials said at least 7 fires are burning across Newfoundland and Labrador, with an unknown number of cabins destroyed and residents forced to flee. Flames licking burnt orange cliff edges, plumes of smoke blotting out the sun. Now, these are the scenes currently meeting visitors at one of America's most treasured natural wonders, the Grand Canyon, where 2 wildfires have burned out of control since July 10th. The Dragon Bravo and White Sage fires continue to burn close to the Grand Canyon's north rim, forcing the evacuation of the area and causing the destruction of more than 80 buildings, including the historic Grand Canyon Lodge. Ignited by lightning, the wildfires continue to burn in northeastern Arizona's Coconino County, leaving more than 60,000 acres of land charred so far. Intense firefighting efforts are ongoing across northwestern Turkey as wildfires that erupted in Tekirdağ's Sarkoy district spread rapidly into Gelibolu region of Kanakel province. Firefighting teams both in the air and on the ground were working to contain the fire, adding that winds in the area were reaching up to 30 kilometers per hour, fanning the flames. Authorities have ordered the precautionary evacuation of multiple villages and neighborhoods as the fires, fueled by strong winds, threatened residential areas and forests. The wildfire had earlier prompted the evacuation of 3 villages in the area and caused 4 people to be sent to hospital. Hundreds of wildfires have broken out across Turkey this summer, forcing tens of thousands of people to temporarily evacuate their homes across the country. You're watching DD News. We're heading for a short break. Stay with us. After the break, we'll tell you Trump says he won't fire Fed Chair Powell, but for now, renews criticism over interest rates. Preparations begin for the historic 20th edition of the Delhi Half Marathon to be held on 12th of October. Dolce & Gabbana bring glamour to Rome with dazzling shows amid iconic landmarks.
Geopolitics and trade deals. Economic challenges amid development. Hard work and the path to prosperity. It's the economy always. Between walkers, money is what money does and says. Supply creates its own demand. Between the bulls pulls and bears tears. When supply chains globalization and India rises to the podium. We'll get you centered with the economic brief at 8 p.m. every Thursday on DD.
Welcome back after the break. You're watching DD India News. Let's get you updates from the world of business now. An $8 billion class action investors lawsuit against Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg and the company leaders, current and former, begins on Wednesday. Jeffrey Zients, White House Chief of Staff under President Joe Biden and a Meta Platforms director for 2 years starting in May 2018, testified that the Federal Trade Commission initially sought tens of billions of dollars but was willing to accept $5 billion, and the company felt it was important to reach a deal that did not name Zuckerberg as a defendant. The trial began on Wednesday and is scheduled to last until July 25th. The case was brought following revelations that data from millions of Facebook users was accessed by Cambridge Analytica, a now defunct political consulting firm that worked for Donald Trump's successful U.S. presidential campaign in 2016. Brazil on Wednesday urged the U.S. to respond to a trade proposal submitted in May, reaffirming its openness to a mutually acceptable deal after U.S. President Donald Trump announced a 50% tariff on Brazilian goods starting in August. Brazilian Vice President Geraldo Alckmin stated on Wednesday that negotiations between Brazil and the U.S. are urgent. Alckmin said that the Brazilian government is still waiting for a response from the U.S. authorities and would have no problem with extending the deadline for negotiations. Meanwhile, in a joint statement, Brazil's Foreign Affairs Ministry and the Ministry of Development said that the government had sent a letter on Tuesday reinforcing its May 16th negotiating proposal. In the letter, Brazil also expressed anger at the planned increase in tariffs from 10% to 50% on its exports to the U.S., warning of a very negative impact on both the economies. U.S. President Donald Trump has said that he is not planning to fire Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell, but he kept the door open to the possibility and renewed his criticism of the central bank chief for not lowering the interest rates. Trump, who has been criticizing Powell on an almost daily basis, confirmed that he had floated the idea with Republican lawmakers, marking the latest chapter in an escalating campaign by Trump against the independent central bank and its embattled chief.
Terrible Fed chair. I was surprised he was appointed. I was surprised, frankly, that Biden put him in and extended him, but they did. So, no, we're not planning on doing anything. We're very concerned. He's doing a little renovation for $2.5 billion of the Fed, building a renovation, and they have a close to $900 million cost overrun.
Powell, who was nominated by Trump during his first term in the late 2017 to lead the Fed and then nominated for a second term by Democratic President Joe Biden 4 years later, has repeatedly said that he intends to serve out his term, which runs through May 15, 2026. A recent Supreme Court opinion has solidified a long-standing interpretation of the law that Fed chair cannot be fired over policy differences, but only for cause. Trump blames the Fed for higher long-term rates that increase the cost of U.S. government borrowing. His attacks on Powell have continued since his signing on July 4th of the Big Beautiful Bill, the tax and spending bill that independent analysts say will add trillions of dollars to the U.S. deficit. Group of 20 finance ministers will meet in South Africa from Thursday amid trade tensions, a global economic slowdown and Washington's threat to withdraw from multilateral organizations. Host South Africa, under its presidency motto Solidarity, Equality, Sustainability, has aimed to promote an African agenda with topics including the high cost of capital and funding for climate change action. U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent will not attend the two-day meeting of finance ministers and central bank governors in the coastal city of Durban, marking his second absence from a G20 event in South Africa this year. The G20 aims to coordinate policies, but its agreements are non-binding. And from business, we now turn focus to sports. The Indian women's cricket team beat England by 4 wickets in the first one-day international in Southampton on Wednesday. Deepti Sharma's unbeaten half-century, anchored by Jemima Rodriguez and Amanjot Kaur, helped India chase down 259 with 10 balls to spare. With this, the Indian women's team registered their second highest successful chase in the ODIs. It was also the third highest chase on English soil by any team. The Indian team has taken a 1-0 lead in the 3-match series. Both teams will clash again in the second ODI on Saturday. India's R. Pragnanda and Arjun Erigaisi advanced to the quarterfinals of the freestyle chess Grand Slam Las Vegas on Thursday. Pragnanda entered the quarterfinal after a stunning 4th-round win over tournament leader Magnus Carlsen. Pragnanda has finished at the top of the group white with 4.5 points, while Erigaisi was placed third in the group black. 5 times world champion Magnus Carlsen finished 5th in group white and is now out of the race for Las Vegas title. The Delhi Half Marathon on Wednesday launched registrations for its historic 20th edition, scheduled to be held on 12th of October. The milestone year is expected to draw thousands of runners, elite athletes and fitness enthusiasts from across the country and beyond. The registrations for the physical and virtual races will commence on July 17th and will remain open until September 19th. The landmark edition of the World Athletics Gold Label race will be flagged off from Jawaharlal Nehru Stadium. Since its inception in 2005, the Delhi Half Marathon has grown into a World Athletics Gold Label event. At the launch event, former Indian goalkeeper P.R. Srijesh spoke on the breaking barriers and also on his new role as the coach of Team India.
Approached me to take up the coaching role. I always thought that, okay, the experience which I gained from last, 24 years, I don't want to waste it off. I thought, okay, sharing that experience is more important for India and definitely Indian hockey.
Boxing legend Manny Pacquiao is set to make his return to the ring against WBC World Welterweight Champion Mario Barrios in Las Vegas. Pacquiao officially retired from professional boxing following his defeat to Cuba's Yordenis Ugas in August 2021. He will step back into the spotlight on Saturday at the MGM Grand. Pacquiao's legacy in the sport remains unmatched as he has accumulated 12 major championships in his career. He's also the only boxer to capture major world titles across 8 different weight classes.
This coming Saturday is going to be a good fight. And, it's been a while that I've been not in boxing for 4 years, but I'm still active in terms of exercise, training.
Turning focus away from sports now, Italian luxury brand Dolce & Gabbana showcased high fashion in Rome this week, hosting 2 runway shows against a backdrop of the city's iconic historical landmarks. The models wore dazzling frocks adorned with prints, embroidery and other embellishments. Dolce & Gabbana held its Atlanta Sartoria menswear show at Castel Sant'Angelo, with models wearing designs inspired by ecclesiastical dress walking down a catwalk set up on the Ponte Sant'Angelo Bridge. right, that's it in this edition of DD India News Hour. But let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those of you on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. This app is available on both Android and iOS platforms, and you can download the respective QR codes. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Preeti Kaur signing off, and from all of us here in Delhi, thanks for watching DD India News Hour.